Hello and welcome to the Cargo Bay, a Star Wars conversation podcast being broadcast to you from a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. I am Brady C, here with my co-host, as always.
Adam B, cracking cold over here, BC.
Woo,
Cracking
cold.
a nice plain sparkling in the morning time.
I'll tell you, there's few things that hit the spot quite like a plain sparkly.
How long have you been? How long has the sparkling water craze been brewing over in your neck of the woods, BC? Because it definitely expanded. People used to think I was crazy drinking Kroger brand seltzer out of a can. Back in 2009.
There's a special place in hell for people who are judgmental about Kroger brand sparkling water.
That's right.
Because it's amazing and it's the exact same as your LaCroix, your Bubblies, now endorsed by Michael Bublé. Great branding. I would say.
Oh wow, is Bubbly still around?
Oh yeah, definitely.
It disappeared in the. It's not out here anymore, or at least I haven't seen it, and I saw it everywhere for a while.
Yes, so I've had Bubbly recently. They're also doing like the caffeinated versions of sparkling waters.
Now we're talking.
Which I am on board for.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of those. So the evolution has definitely progressed lately with your different flavors. I'm a personal fan of the pamplemousse.
Nice.
Which is grapefruit, and it just tastes like nothing, but is good. But I'd say we've been on the train for a few years. I mean, several years now. It's mostly if I'm having a carbonated beverage, it's going to be that or like beer, you know.
Yeah.
Something that's got some bubbles in it.
At this point, if I'm having calories in a beverage, I usually want it to also have a little bit of alcohol in the beverage.
Yeah, a little bit of joy juice. Yeah, so yeah,
definitely a healthy way to think about alcohol is joy juice.
Joy juice, yeah, that's right, joy juice, brought to you by the Cargo Bay Pod.
Well, before we talk about the big nasty challenge.
Oh, you just dropping the biggest Cargo Bay tease of all time right there, man.
I just want to shout out. I want to shout out my new favorite sparkling water, Trader Joe's stocking a blueberry lemonade.
What?
Any of the lemonade flavors from Trader Joe's, man, they taste like almost like a real soda, like 75% of a real soda, I swear.
I'm jealous. One,
maybe 50%,
because we don't have access to a TJ's here. No Trader J's up in this area. We're just lowly Whole Foods people if we want to pretend we're fancy shoppers.
Now, what exactly is a whole food? Is it a food that comes out of a hole?
Mm-hmm. It's food that comes out of a hole, and it is whole.
Oh, okay.
So there's no holes in the whole food. It is a whole, WHOLE food instead of a HOLE food.
Gotcha.
Big difference. Yeah, big difference. It's an overpriced grocery store that has good stuff to eat. Makes people feel better about their life choices when they go there.
Yeah. Except these days with the inflation, am I right?
You're not wrong.
Of course, I wouldn't know anything about that because I am in a spaceship out here. We're in the cargo bay. We're far away from the problems of the world.
What even is Trader Joe's? Never heard of it. Yes, we gotta keep the
Trader
illusion alive that we're on a spaceship.
Well, VC, even if we weren't on a spaceship, there's something here that would take your mind right off of your problems, more than joy juice, and that's Star Wars Episode 1 Adventures, Game Book 10, Festival of Warriors. VC, the wheel of content, the spinning wheel of content, decided that we should investigate this, and I'm so glad it did. And we'll be spinning the wheel at the end of this episode to determine what we'll be doing in the future. I think we have a Clone Wars episode coming up next that we spun last week.
We do have a Clone Wars banking clan episode featuring a little love story between Lux Bonteri and Padme, and maybe some jealous Anakin Skywalker action. So pretty exciting stuff.
Oh, I
Yes,
would.
indeed.
I don't know that I'm familiar with this episode. This might have been one that I missed on one of my abridged watch throughs.
It may. I mean, I haven't watched it yet, but I know there's one where because he's, they've got this sort of like, well, yes, I'm a banking clan person, and we used to have a thing, and Anakin just goes into a rage and like beats the crap out of him. I hope it's this episode because it's just a Jedi just smashing this dude's face. So fingers crossed, but we'll come back with the exact details of that episode after we review it. But I personally cannot wait to get into the big nasty free for all.
So that's, you heard it, folks. This book is about the big nasty free for all. Let me just to get started. Let me just read a little bit of this first page. All right.
Oh, a tease! I love it.
You are a Gungan warrior. The adventure guide contains the rules of Gungan adventures. All caps. You must follow these rules at all times. You are an entrant in the Big Nasty Free-for-All, the most grueling competition in the Festival of Warriors. You were determined to win the Big Nasty, but you have just learned that a Gungan patrol discovered tracks left by mechaniques, also known as droids, on Lake Umberul Beach. On Lake Umberul Beach. Rep Tears suspects the droids might have been brought to Naboo by outsiders, but for all you know, the droids might be operating on their own.
Oh, we got a little intrigue at the big nasty free for all.
So we did a little Wikipedia-ing on this. We tried to find out as much as we could online. And this was actually part of something that I had as a kid. I don't think I had all of these adventure guides, but it was a Scholastic Book Fair order pack, which you found, VC, this big plastic Darth Maul head with photo real Darth Maul head, which I remember being grossed out by his teeth. Because it's also like an embossed thing, so like his grimy teeth are 3D. You could rub your fingers on him. And inside of that plastic box was a bunch of game cards for things like weapons and powers, and then character cards and some dice, and that's about it.
I've got the breakdown because
nice.
When the wheel faded us, Star Wars Episode 1 Adventure Book 10 Festival of Warriors, I was like, what are we talking about? So I had to do the Wikipedia deep dive to find out what is going on with this. And so from what I gleaned, yes, it is this sort of role-playing adventure series. So this is tied specifically to Episode 1. This is the 10th book, so obviously there were 9 more before it. But it also follows up the Star Wars Mission series, which was the same thing that started in 1997. So
wow.
So there was the original carrying case was a Darth Vader carrying case, and so whenever Episode 1 came out, they could market it as the Maul carrying case with new specific Episode 1 adventures. But the original Star Wars Missions, 20 books total.
Wow.
So from that 97 series, and here's the product breakdown on what you were getting when you cracked open that Darth Maul creepy embossed face.
Yeah, I remember thinking it was awesome when I got it. Obviously getting that from the book order made me feel like a king.
Oh, I was immediately jealous that I wasn't that this wasn't in my wheelhouse at this time, because this sounds amazing to me now as an adult, where I'm like, sick role-playing adventure game with Episode 1 stories? Yeah! Because within that case, you were getting 12 adventure cards, 2 adventure dice, a 10-sided and a 20-sided, an adventure notebook to keep track of your adventures, a point pad, a poster, an adventure novel, 1 game book, 1 adventure guide, and 1 Episode 1 Adventures ID card, in addition to the #1 issue of Star Wars Kids.
Wow.
All of that came packed in one thing. So if you felt like a king when you got it, there's a good reason for that. It's because you were.
I basically was.
Because you were.
I mean,
You could have
I
walked
was
around with your like briefcase that was Darth Maul's face, and people would have been like, "Make way, make way!
I'm pretty
The
sure they
king is
did.
here."
Now that you mention it,
Yeah.
I
Clear
mean,
the halls. Everyone,
I
stand to the side.
I was definitely. I must have been a spoiled little child to get something like this. It's a lot of loot. That's a lot of loot in that box, PC. But let me
I
tell
mean,
you, before you're sad about having missed out on an awesome role playing game, let me
okay.
tell you what this is not. A role playing game. It's not really. Uh, uh, yeah.
This is bitterly disappointing news to me.
It's one of our friends on Twitter said, "Is this like the Fighting Fantasy series?" And I was like, "I guess that sounds right. It's probably a ripoff of that." And then someone was like, "No, no. The Fighting Fantasy series actually has like gameplay elements. This basically it sets up a scenario for you, gives you some options." And if you fail on an option, you go back to the beginning and you roll the dice until you get an option that works. Now, there are points that you can accrue with different options, but the main text is the same for every decision. Like, you just get different, like, you get different points on your scorecard depending on what option you take and how quickly you get through. So yeah, not that exciting. This ties in with a novel. So, like, at the end of this ends, spoiler alert. This is how this ends.
As all things must.
It's not really even that much of a spoiler because here's what I'll read. If your adventure number is less than 14, blah blah blah. To read the end of this adventure, please turn to page 87 of your adventure novel, Festival of Warriors. So this is the game book, and then there's a novel. So you're reading the novel, and then it's like, time to enter the big nasty challenge. And then you pull out this, and you do your little dice stuff, and then you go back to the book after.
As an adult, I think this is awful. As a kid, I think probably not ultimately very rewarding, but
Yeah.
I can see the appeal of it, right? And it does teach children that great lesson: there are no consequences to failure, which I think is very important for young people to understand in life. That you can just go back and start over again without consequences. I think there's an interesting version of the mechanics of this somewhere, but from the sounds of it, it is not executed in a way that I, as a person in my 30s, would find appealing at the moment.
Well, it was encouraging in a lot of ways because the pros, and no offense to Ryder Wyndham, obviously got to crank out 10 books, make that Scholastic money. But the writing in this did inspire me to be like, I could do that. Like, because the only thing that survives from my kit is the episode 1 Adventures notebook in which I wrote my Star Wars fan fiction at age, 10 or whatever.
Put it on the wheel. Put it on the wheel. Put it on the wheel.
I have transcribed most of it into text. Like it was very hard to read.
I declare that's on the wheel.
All right, we'll put that on the wheel. But I remember playing it. The book that came with the starter is cooler. It's got Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon on it. But I remember trying it. I might have even finished that adventure book.
Yeah, I can't imagine that the big nasty free-for-all is the most coveted role-playing adventure that one could partake in.
I mean, basically what it is like the it feels like a really really low budget version of the like Harry Potter Triwizard tournament, and you're a Gungan. Rowling be damned.
Amazing praise. Yes. So I did pull from the Wikipedia just a little, what is the big nasty free for all? This comes directly from the Wookiee. It's the main event of the Festival of Warriors, and it was a competition held by the Gungans as a test of skill for warriors. Events included the gully brawl, the gully throw, and a race through the ocean. And it does note that Boss Nass won the competition a record 3 times in a row.
Pretty awesome.
Amazing. He's the Michael Phelps of the Gungans.
Yep, yep. You look at that. You look at that creature, and you know that's an aerodynamic, water treading.
That is an athletic competitor to be feared.
BC, I'm gonna let you play through one of these scenarios. Maybe we'll do fake dice rolls. When I read through this, I just picked which one I wanted and read the answer for you were successful. Basically, I just plowed through this 97 pages. But I wanted to, before I forget, the books I really remember, and I think I maybe only had one or two of them. Two of them eventually were the Choose Your Own Adventure original trilogy books, where you play Luke Skywalker's best friend. Like you're basically like Luke's imaginary friend, and you're just on the, like, sometimes you get separated, right? But man, those were great. And like all good Choose Your Own Adventure books, definitely when you fail, it is brutal. Like you are murdered by a wampa or whatever. And they had these really cool holograms on the cover. So I would love to get those again someday, but they're pretty pricey anytime I've looked them up online.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, looking at it and the marketing and seeing the beautiful cards that you do get, because I pulled it up on eBay just to be like, how much is this?
Yeah.
You can get it for like 10 or 15 bucks depending on the seller, plus shipping. And you're like, okay. But like even like the game cards look very like
cartoony
and kid-like, which makes sense.
I loved
right?
Obi-Wan's lightsaber hilt. Obi-Wan's lightsaber was one of the cards, and I do remember like having that on my desk for years, being like, cool.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan's lightsaber hilt. But yeah, they're pretty cheesy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty big into like board games. I haven't done a whole lot of like role-playing games, but like I mean, we've played like Blood Rage together and stuff before. So like really in-depth games. I do have like the itch to like play some of those really complicated Star Wars games that are out there.
We should just play the Star Wars role-playing game, because that can't be too complicated. That's just like D&D prompt for Star Wars, I would imagine.
I think that would be fun, and it is exactly the level of nerd that I am. Be like, let's do that. But it seems like this is like a good like kids intro to like a greater world of nerddom that exists out there, where it's like, yeah, if you're in 4th grade, you may not be into D&D yet, but we'll show you what a 20-sided dice is.
We'll sell you this little plastic 20-sider.
Yeah, you might find some more things that you'll like eventually if you like this 20-sided dice and this adventure that you're going on.
A shout out to a listener and friend of mine who I have not asked to reveal their name, so I'm gonna call him J-Man. Sorry, J-Man. Definitely not a good name for you. But he asked me once about this, doing a campaign or DMing a campaign of like the Jedi role-playing game, and I was like, oh my gosh, that would be so much fun to like write a Jedi RPG campaign.
Yeah,
but that's something we should look into eventually, BC, because that would be fun to do.
Put it on our to-do list. Oh,
and shout out to Wikipedia as well, BC. I got so excited when I was reading this, because there's a scene with a pico bird, or like a flying lizard, and I was like, let me look at Wikipedia and see what this is. And when I looked at it, it was a very small entry, and there were only like 4 appearances. And I was like, oh my gosh, I get to edit the Wikipedia for the first time. And I went and I got it, and I was typing it all in, and then I remembered, oh, I bet this is the new canon. Let me go over to Legends tab. And the very first thing on that Legends tab was this, so I failed.
That's amazing. I mean, yeah, I'm sorry you had that disappointing experience, but I mean, what a win for Wikipedia. Just undefeated.
Yeah, for real.
Undefeated, which brings me over to another site that I might have some issues with. While we were looking into the heralded author
I don't know about heralded because you have to go to the title page of the book before you find.
Not even on the cover.
No, nowhere on the cover.
Yeah. So we were checking out a little bit of info on Ryder Wyndham, the author of Adventure Book 10, and several, I mean, to be fair, several other adventures. Notable hits from the Episode 1 series include 1, Search for the Lost Jedi, 2, The Bartok Assassins, 3, The Fury of Darth Maul, 4, Jedi Emergency. And he's going to take a little break. He's going to skip to 9, Rescuing the Core. And then we've got Festival of Warriors as 10, 11, Pirates from Beyond the Sea, and 12, Whoa. The Bongo Rally.
Nice. lots of like games.
Yeah.
Jedi Emergency. That's a funny title. I like that. He seems to have made a career out of, working with Star Wars stuff. Did a lot of.
He's done exactly what I would have loved to have done, which has been like, I work in Star Wars.
Yeah.
my gig is Star Wars. I write adventure books, and I teach classes about comics.
Yeah, pretty dope. But on that Wikipedia page is something I've never seen before.
Controversy on the Cargo Bay pod.
There's a header for something, and underneath it says editorializing, which I haven't seen before.
We do have a little editorializing going on here. And this is under the career section for the maintaining consistency in stories. Now, the Cargo Bay has done some investigation. We'll posit what it says here to you all. We'll save you the quick Wikipedia of this. I'm going to go ahead and read this. We've got a couple of theories. I think we'll land on which one we think it is.
Yeah.
So under maintaining consistency in stories is written for the career of Mr. Ryder Wyndham. An inevitable challenge for all Star Wars authors is maintaining the consistency in stories written by various authors. Fortunately, Leland Chee, who is in charge of monitoring the continuity in Star Wars stories, is very familiar with the story details. Therefore, he has been very helpful to Ryder Wyndham. That's one sentence. It's a pretty solid run-on that we got going on there. Now the very helpful Leland Chee, again, editorializing because
there's no reference.
There's nothing there. That's one of two things that's happened. Either Ryder Wyndham is being blackmailed by Leland Chee and has to put up as much good information about him as possible, or Leland Chee was feeling a little slighted by his lack of acknowledgement by Ryder Wyndham.
I don't see him in the title page of this masterpiece.
Name's not on there, buddy. Don't see any Leland Chee author notes or special thanks.
Nope, don't see it.
So, just based on the language, on the most recent read, I definitely feel like Leland Chee went in and was like, I gotta put my normal note in there.
Yeah, I wonder how many other places we can find this.
Ooh, that's great.
This exact.
That's great. Oh, there's got to be a way to. Leland Chee. Where'd you go, Leland Chee? It had I was able to click on the Leland Chee link, but it just took me to the Holocron database and canonicity. Whoa. Okay.
Wow. That sounds like a rabbit hole for.
Apparently, Leland Chee is the keeper of all Star Wars secrets. So
I mean, that's a pretty awesome
Leland
gig.
We don't want to be on your bad side, and obviously, you are very helpful.
And welcome on the pod anytime.
Yeah, you are always welcome to come on the Cargo Bay.
Well, BC, I want to give you a brief summary of the events that take place in this. A gully pod, or gully pud. It's a gully pud in the Big Nasty Challenge. It starts out, you're a Gungan, big festival, everybody's watching, it's a big deal. But there are mechaniques out there, so they say, you know what, if you encounter any of these mechaniques and you kill them, you get extra points, all right, in this
That's
challenge.
great. That's great.
Or maybe it's just the adventure book that gives you extra points for that.
If you want me to adventure, I do have a 20-sided
Oh,
die
nice.
here.
Well, yeah. So you start out trying to catch a gullipud, which is a poor creature that bounces and is used in Gungan games. You catch one of those bad boys. In my instance, after that, I was passed up to the next level by the crowd. I let the crowd get involved because they love me and passed me up to the top. And
So
then
you immediately got the crowd on your side. Like
That's right.
They knew you were to be champion.
I was in first place, and then I had to swim across a lake. And what did I find in that lake? Oh no, it was a mine. It was a mine floating in the lake, and Gungans and humans, they don't agree about everything, but they definitely agree that shouldn't be using mines. Those could hurt children or future generations of animals. And so, yes.
Is that text?
Yes, that text is in the books.
Amazing. Okay,
I really wish I had a highlighter.
So it goes out of the way for it to be like, kids, mines are bad.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
There's also lots of options in here to like, this might kind of break the rules, but the rules say you can use whatever you want. So you did find this, and I used a lot of those, and it didn't seem like there were any penalties for it. But yeah, so disabled the mine, which people were catching up to me, but I disabled the mine, and then I killed the droid, which was had like fins on it. It wasn't a regular battle droid. It was a weird description of the droid. And then I don't know, I walked across a beam, and then I jumped off a cliff. No, I rode the Pico Pico bird across a chasm after finding a secret trail. And then I jumped off a cliff into the water and got sucked into a cavern where then I found a submarine.
What?
And I swam up to the submarine and I saw some droids in there and I listened in and I heard as soon as I put my ear up to the thing, I heard, "We're gonna fire the torpedo and destroy the arena." Oh. And so I stopped. I got in there, stopped that, and then I rode the submarine, outpacing all the other competitors, and I assume won the challenge. But I'd have to go over to the novel to find out what. What's up?
What an adventure you had. Did you? I mean, were you feeling the flight? Were you feeling the water as you were adventuring? Was it that interactive of an experience for you?
Yeah, I actually my fiance had to knock on the door several times because I was shouting with excitement and gasping as I turned the page. So I wanted to drop you into one of these, one of my favorite little encounters here.
Oh, I love it.
And see what you would do. And this is something I haven't told you about in the summary, so this should be exciting. This is when you have crossed the chasm. In my case, I used the Pico Pico bird. There were also some vines and a dangerous bridge you could have crossed, I believe.
Ooh. Okay, all right.
So here we go. I'm gonna read this to you, and then I'll let you decide what you're gonna do.
Okay.
At the second checkpoint, an image recorder is set up on a tripod. It swivels to monitor your approach and broadcast your image to the arena. Despite the presence of the image recorder, you wonder if you have arrived at the right place. You expected to see other Gungans passing the watchtower by now. You walk around the tower, then look to the south toward the swamp and Lake Umberol. You see several dozen big nasty contestants running up the hill. Running up that hill, baby. Much to your surprise, it seems you are the first Gungan to arrive at the second checkpoint. Hoping to maintain your lead, you prepare to run to a nearby cliff, the site of the next stage of the race. But before you can take one step, one of the approaching athletes shouts, "Big nasty cheater!" Although the Big Nasty has flexible rules, the rules must be obeyed. If a contestant is suspected of cheating, the rules call for a temporary timeout until the matter is investigated. You turn to face your fellow contestants as they approach the checkpoint. And please excuse me, this is how it's written. "What go we on?" you ask. Who's a calling Huma a cheater? Misa calling Yusa the cheater. Snarls a burly Gungan. There's no way you be in hair before usins unless you Yusa cheat. Yusa not allowed to leave the route. You point to the nearby ravine and declare, Misa come that way. The burly Gungan spits at your feet. Evidently, he does not believe you. Yusa cheater. Yusa fibber too. We're gonna settle this big nasty style. You have been wrongfully accused of cheating and lying, and face the possibility of expulsion from the big nasty free for all.
Oh, no! Hell no!
The only way
What feud?
the only way for you to prove your innocence is to make your accuser renounce his words or defeat him in combat. The other athletes stand aside from you and the burly Gungan.
Combat. I choose combat. I want to beat the crap out of this guy.
Wait, okay, did I read that the rules call for a temporary timeout until the matter is investigated? Because that's wild. That's a wild rule.
We're going to stop the race. So at any point in the race, if someone's like, he's cheating.
Yeah.
Everyone pause.
Stop, man.
Hold on. We've got to do another investigation. Now, here's why I'm choosing the combat option. Well, I want to nip this problem in the bud immediately.
I want to read you your options first, though.
I thought combat was an option.
So, yeah, it is. But I just want to give you all the options here.
Okay.
So you can choose to reason with your accuser with or without power. You have like your cards of power that you can use when you need to.
Sure.
Use a device, which is a weapon, I would assume, or something. You can dodge your opponent or flip your opponent.
I'm gonna flip that MFer.
Okay, so I'm paging over to the flip your opponent. To use your advices, to reason with your opponent, to dodge your opponent, to flip your opponent. Roll the 20 dice to toss the burly Gungan to the ground. If martial arts is one of your talents, your roll number plus your skill number plus your strength plus 2 is your adventure number. Okay. If martial arts is not one of your talents, your roll number plus your skill number plus your strength number is your adventure number.
All right, well, what adventure number do I need to flip this dude?
I don't know. Let's just see what you roll.
That's a 16, baby. That dude is flying.
Guess what? Doesn't even matter what your skill number is. Doesn't even matter what your power number is, because that chance cube, it was in your favor, BC.
Send him flying, baby.
If your adventure number is equal to or more than 14, add the difference plus 10 to your AP total. All right, I don't know.
Nailed him.
I don't know. Here it is. You grip your opponent's arm and force him over your back and onto the ground, pinning his arms behind his back. You ask if he wants to renounce his accusation. He agrees, and he apologizes for having accused you of cheating and lying. All is forgiven, and the big nasty continues.
Yeah, let's get the big nasty back going. Also, I feel like I should gain some sort of time advantage, because now we're all gathered up together because I was falsely accused of cheating. Falsely, obviously.
Well, luckily, there's no reason to do that, because, again, all the text lines up at the end of all the options exactly the same.
Well, that's good. That's good. Right,
but you might have gotten some points to use later or something. You saved your card. You didn't have to use your cards.
I love it. Fantastic.
And then, you continue on in your adventure. So, yeah, boy, oh boy, that's the way this thing goes.
So it's you get all those options, you get all those elements, you have all of your various skills and levels and all that kind of stuff. But no matter what you do, all roads lead to success. I mean,
I think eventually there may be like a fail state. Like, I'm not sure if you play through as many of these as you want in one go, and like as you use your devices. Like, I don't know how often your devices charge or whatever, but I think because let's see what happens if you fail that. We're not clinging to the hook'em. We're not pushing the droid into the fissure. We're not using its propulsion cylinder. You're not grabbing the harumph horns. Um,
Harumph horns.
you're not tearing free. Okay, so here we go. Let's just read what would have happened if you had failed, which of course you wouldn't. Oh wait, large leaf to paraglide. That's not what I was. Okay, here it is. Here it is.
Okay.
If your adventure number is less than 14, subtract the difference from your AP total. So you lose some AP points there, I guess.
Just brings your point total down.
The burly Gungan is an expert fighter, and he flips you instead. You land on your feet and decide to deliver a knockout punch. Roll the 20 dice again for your new roll number.
Amazing. That's nice. So
if
even
your
after
new
he flips me, it's a counter and then a knockout punch.
Let's see. If your new adventure number is equal to or more than 14, add the difference to your AP total. You knock out your opponent, and he collapses to the ground. Wow. So if you fail initially, you actually get to knock your opponent out.
I call that a success.
You remain in the big nasty, and the marathon continues, so there's no apology in that case. If your new adventure number is less than 14, subtract the difference, blah, blah. The burly Gungan is a formidable fighter, and he ducks your punches. Go back to roll the 20 dice again for your new roll number and repeat. When you have defeated your opponent, you may proceed.
So do it until you win. That's fun. Also, I just quick shout out. I didn't note this as you were performing it. Amazing performance, but Ryder Wyndham really capturing the Gungans.
Yeah,
It sounds like capturing the spirit of the Gungans in the
pretty
dialogue.
upsetting.
It doesn't age well. Doesn't age super well.
Yeah, I want to see if I can find that description of that droid with the fins. But yeah, that's how this works. All roads lead to the same place, which is obviously more easy to create. It's easier to create 10 of these books and churn them out in that case.
Yeah, if you don't have to have a failure option in there.
I'm seeing something for the first time. This edition is only available for distribution through the school market. Gotta love American capitalism. So I think this was, you could only get this through book orders and book fairs, this series.
Yeah, I think I remember reading that it was like a subscription almost, basically to continue to get those adventure books. So yeah, capitalism at its very finest. But also shout out to the Scholastic Book Fair, which was always the most exciting day when that rolled through your town.
Dude.
They set that bad boy up in the library.
What a like a shining beacon of being a 90s child.
Absolutely.
There were so many cool books, man. I always felt bad because, again, capitalism. There were some kids who got squat. They didn't get anything.
Yeah.
I was never like the kid walking out with the biggest stack of books, but my parents usually gave me a little bit of money. I could get something cool,
Yeah, I would have a little bit of scratch to get some. Do you remember getting, like, before it even rolled in, they had like the flyers of like, here are the books that are coming.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I'm gonna circle this one that looks. Oh, there's a new Michael Jordan book.
I want to beg. Mom, but don't you want me to read?
Mom, it's the Star Wars visual guide to everything.
I need this because it comes with a cool dragon necklace. I mean, because I'm gonna read it all. What are your favorite What are your favorite things you got from a book fair? Or what I liked even better than book fair or book order was because the book order, you got the magazine and then you had to wait for like months. It was like my first experience like having to wait that long for stuff.
Yes.
And boy, oh boy, that was exciting stuff. But I liked even better was RIF we had, which is Reading is Fun. Which just everybody got to go to basically a little book fair and pick one free book, and that would happen twice a year. So that may have been something that only kicked in Arkansas when I was in elementary school or whatever. That might be like, but man, I got some cool stuff there, and then you didn't have to feel bad because everybody got a book. Everybody got a free book instead of it being like, wow, there's the rich kid with the entire like.
I think the bad news is that's probably not around anymore because that sounds a little socialist.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think we're definitely going back to the
If we don't
scholastic
have
days.
school lunches, we probably don't have a free book either.
You want us to give you books? Sounds like socialism to me. You want books and food? Sounds like socialism to me.
I can remember my favorite. I think the like children's novel series outside of like Star Wars stuff, which I got often. My favorite young adult like novels were Deltora Quest was really great. I love those books. I think they still like if I had children, and I never will. But if I had children, I would absolutely be trying to hook them up with Deltora Quest. Those were great and often creepy. And then also the Seventh Tower series. I think I read all of those, which was a cool like dark sci-fi fantasy where you're like a super low class like person. I guess it wasn't a U. This was not an adventure series, sadly, or a choose your own adventure series.
Gotcha. Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't put my scholastic brain to good use. Mostly, what I was after was like the sports stuff. So I was a little sports boy.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think the most handy thing that I picked up was there was a book that was like, here's the mailing address for all of these athletes. Like, if you want to send fan mail,
whoa.
And it wasn't like a personal home. I don't.
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
But it was like, if you want to send fan mail to your favorite sports stars, here's a book that's collected it. And I was like,
that's
right
awesome.
in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And so I remember I definitely sent something to Michael Jordan. Obviously, it's the greatest of all time. And with that you get back some like pre-kitted thing that the Chicago Bulls would just send to everyone. It's like,
that's
here's
nice.
a poster, here's whatever. No autographs though. I was an autograph hunter. Sent something to Troy Aikman, quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. A little glossy photo, came back signed. And
whoa, that's awesome.
Well, you would think so until my dad lovingly pointed out that's fake. That's an auto pin. That's not real. I was like, oh, well, there goes my enthusiasm for this autograph. The best one, the one good result, shout out forever to Hockey Hall of Famer, St. Louis Blues legend Brett Hull, who I wrote a letter to because he was from Duluth, Minnesota, which is where my grandpa was from. So I wrote him a letter. Like, I sent a letter and was like, my family lives in St. Louis and my grandpa was born in Duluth and whatever. Like, there's no way of remembering what I wrote. But he sent me back. Like, he sent me a card that he autographed. Like, I didn't send the card in. He like had like one of his like Topps cards and he autographed it and sent it back. And so I still have that card. So
that's awesome.
That's why that book still holds a place in my scholastic heart, because of that Brett Hull autograph that I've got in my collection.
Man, what a useful book. Man, I was not the biggest sports kid growing up, aside from about 3 years. I think like 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade. I thought I was going to be a professional football player. The way this started was we used to have like, tag football every recess, and like it was this thing where all the popular kids like would have this big team and play against the not popular kids.
Fun.
I at one point I was friends with some of the cool kids because they went to my church, and then I was like, these guys are assholes. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna play with the other team, and I did, and I was like captaining the other team, and we started winning, and they got pissed. I mean, I remember there was this kid. He was like, I mean, I don't want to insult the guy. He was like a feral child, though. Like, like he was like, the wild thornberries, Donnie, the little wild boy.
Yeah.
He was like that. He made like weird noises and growled and stuff. And I remember the last game we ever played against them. where I had already been slammed against a fence by an angry, like, tagging me out because I ran so far. But I remember it was like the bell rang in the middle of the play and we were tied up. And I just like threw a Hail Mary because I knew they couldn't make it back if it was intercepted. And I saw this like little growling child like jump in the air out of the popular kids and catch it, and we won. And then they stopped playing football. The popular kids stopped playing tag football. Then we just split into, we just split our team into two and played for years after. We were the tag football kids.
And you had fun and
Yeah,
weren't ginormo a-holes about
and
it.
I thought I was oh so progressive because I let girls play on the team. I thought I was really, doing a great service to the world by letting occasionally a girl play quarterback for one play before I was quarterback again for most of the game. But during that era, I got I got a riff book that was Boomer Esiason's like pictorial like fake autobiography or like fake biography, a little Boomer Esiason book. But
Amazing.
that's the only sports memorabilia I remember getting from that era.
I just wanted to do a quick shout out. Sounds like that feral kid probably would have been great at the Big Nasty Free for All.
Oh man, man, yeah. I hope that guy's a cool guy. Like he seemed like a weird kid, and now that I understand things, I'm just like, oh right, you probably not well cared for. Like,
It is, yeah, wild diversion from our normal Star Wars conversation. But it is funny to go back and think about like how weird things were socially as just a child in like a public school where
yeah,
you just like herded into this thing and you have this shared experience and you're like the the diverse experience from any number of memorable people who were in your class at that time where you're like, man, they were problematic. You're like, and now you look back and like they probably had the worst home life
yeah,
of
yeah.
anyone that you can possibly imagine, and them getting shipped to school was like a little bit of a prison sentence for them and for the people who had to watch them, and it was just like I don't know, just the social elements of a lot of that you don't understand as a kid. You look back as an
Yeah.
adult, you're like, ooh, some of that was wildly troubling.
Yeah, yeah. I remember we had in Arkansas is the headquarters of a charity called Heifer Project International,
Sure is,
which
yeah.
they send animals. The idea is that you send a pregnant cow to someone, and then they give the offspring of the cow to someone else, and they give the offspring of that cow. It's just like. Anyway, I think it's a decent charity from
Yeah.
what I remember, and they had this thing called like the World Center,
Mhm.
where you can go and like you
Yeah.
stay in basically different
I remember this. I definitely
like
did this.
there's like
Yeah.
huts and like different like world areas recreated, and you have to like there's a program where you spend the night there.
Mhm.
We did a smaller version at one point. Like some of our class went up and we did stay the night, but we stayed in like a dorm. And
Right.
then we spent a full day there, and you get like minor resources, and you had to trade and like make terrible food. And there's an Appalachian area there too, where it's like, hey, here's a hut without power. Like here's a little shack. And I remember our teachers being like, "You guys have classmates that live like this, just so you like, just so you know, like, yeah, you think like that area over there represents a third world country, but we're pretty sure that there's kids in your school who like don't
Oh,
have access to running water, dude."
old feral boy over there.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a luxury apartment for him.
yeah, yeah. So it was like, oh, I guess you're probably right, huh? Um, but yeah, that that kind of realization at a certain point of like, oh, things are not fair, which I was immune to as a child because I was getting stuff from the book fair, and it was the
Yeah.
'90s, and I was like, yeah,
You
I
were
don't
walking
know.
down the hall as they were spreading way for the king with his Darth Maul briefcase.
Oh man, glorious times.
Indeed.
Well, BC, I guess that about wraps it on the
The big nasty free for all.
yeah, the big nasty free for all.
Today was kind of a big nasty free for all. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, yeah, it was nice. Thanks be to the Wheel of Names. Shout out again to the wheelofnames.com, providing a wonderful free service. And I guess it's time that we spin the wheel again, huh, BC?
I do just want to honor Leland Chi once more before we do anything else, just as, for being very helpful to Star Wars canonicity.
And also
Thank
to
you,
Ryder
E21.
Wyndham, who did one of the Star Wars visual guides. Ryder's done a lot of cool stuff.
I just want to put odds on this. Do you think we could get Ryder Wyndham to podcast?
I don't know. We could give it a shot.
I feel like it wouldn't be the wildest ask that we could have. Just be like, hey, you want to come talk about your experience with Star Wars?
Well, I do have a connection to a friend of mine. Their father wrote a couple episodes of the Clone Wars.
Royalty. Royalty.
Yeah, basically. Which is something they told me when I first met them, or just like early on knowing them, told me that, and I just put it out of my head because I was like, I never want to bother you about your father going to Skywalker Ranch and meeting George Lucas and writing Star Wars stuff. But now I have met their father, and I did not say, hey, can I just talk to you about Star Wars?
Star Wars?
But maybe once we've done a few hundred episodes, I can shoot my shot there.
I love that. Yeah, I think we're approaching, and we will be soon. The at least through the Apple podcast count, the 50 level mark. We're closer to 50 than we are farther away from it.
That's true.
We might have to do a special 50th episode, something or other.
Yeah, we gotta. Well, maybe we save it for 52. But that wouldn't be coming up on a year because we do 2 episodes a week. We'll figure it out. Yeah. We'll do some celebrating soon.
The cargo boat celebration.
For now, I want to celebrate by spinning this big old wheel of still over 1,300 pieces of Star Wars content. Let's see where we're going. Here it is. I actually just have a little ticking noise playing this time.
Oh, that's lovely.
It's barely there, as a matter of fact. And, The Most Dangerous Foe by Angela Phillips, November 1st, 1996.
The Most Dangerous Foe. I just hiccuped at the end of that, sorry. The Most Dangerous, and it tasted like banana. The Most Dangerous Foe. Star Wars.
Let's see what this is here. The Most Dangerous Foe.
Short story.
Oh, perfect.
Originally published in Star Wars Adventure Journal 11 by West End Games in November 1996.
Okay,
I really hope we can find this thing.
Yeah, it's one of the. It was difficult finding this BC because there were 2 copies on eBay that were like $50 a piece.
Hard pass.
Yeah, and then I found one for much more reasonable, $10. The Most Dangerous Foe, Star Wars. There's Obi-Wan's foe, which looks awesome. It's Obi-Wan fighting Grievous. There's The Dangerous Rescue, a Jedi Apprentice novel. So yeah, we'll dig in. I'll see what we can find.
I just want to point out that this was originally published in the Star Wars Adventure Journal 11.
Oh, nice.
Star Wars Adventure Journal.
Journal 11.
Journal
well, maybe
11.
That's what I need to look.
The official Star Wars Adventure Journal. Oh boy.
I am really distracted right now because on eBay I see the Dangerous Games Star Wars Jedi Quest, which has a picture. The cover is Anakin flying Rats Tyrell's pod racer, which is the one that's backwards. It's got the thing out front and the pods in the back. But behind Anakin is Anakin's own pod behind him. What is he doing? What is he doing in Rats Tyrell's vehicle here?
I'm gonna go ahead and guess that Mr. Chi was not involved in any of this. Is that breaks canon?
This is written by Jude Watson, and I remember reading must have been some of the Anakin and Obi books at the time, I would guess. Wow, what a thing. All right, well, we'll see if we can find that. I imagine we can dig it up. Because next week we're doing that Clone Wars episode, we got a little bit of time.
Yes, indeed. Star Wars Adventure Journal 11.
But I guess that does it for this episode of the Cargo Bay. That's what it is.
It's kind of an issue, but it's also an episode.
You got any final thoughts here before we're out, BC?
I'm just glad that the big nasty free for all exists in the world.
Glad we could cover it and do the journalism necessary.
Do the hard hitting journalism that has honestly been long awaited on this particular title. And I appreciate you doing the hard work of fighting your way through that Festival of Warriors.
What can I say? I'm one of the most talented Gungan competitors out there. I basically saved the day and won the challenge. And I think, BC, the way this wheel is going, I think we're going to continue to dive into some really underexplored parts of the Star Wars Legends canon. So I don't know, it's nice to get something that I feel like we're probably one of like 20 people who have an active memory of this at this point.
Yeah, I think it's left a lot of people, but I will tell you, the big nasty free for all is not soon to leave my memory.
Well, out there, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to follow us on the socials at the Cargo Bay Pod. BC, I'm trying to do a couple Twitter posts every day.
I saw the poll yesterday. I'm an X-Wing boy. I always have been.
But we got it. Last I checked, it was 50-50 X-Wing, A-Wing. No love for the Y-Wing. No love for the B-Wing.
Well, if it's your last adventure, it's not, you feel like you want to go out with something that's really exciting.
Yeah, that's true. You want some speed in there, and the B-Wing and the Y-Wing, they ain't packing the speed really. Excuse me, I'm here. I'm okay. Check us out on YouTube as well. We're about to record an episode of Hobby Talk, where we talk about Star Wars trading cards, which now lives just on YouTube. So you can catch the unproduced video of this on YouTube as well. Please give us a follow, and we'll be back, next week with more adventures from the wheel. So keep it cool out there. Have a good one, and bye forever.
Bye, y'all.